Hello, my friends. I welcome you to another episode of Aditya Talks. And today we are going to do a very interesting interview with Mr. Joseph Kayaya. And he is a very interesting person. So, Dr. Joseph Kayaya, I welcome you to the show.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. And how are you, the listeners and viewers?
I am very fine. I am talking to you. It's a pleasure. And now, Doctor, can you please tell us about your story from the early days of childhood and to what you do now?
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. So there's a lot to tell about my childhood, but I think I'll just quickly pick a few things. One of the things that is very memorable in my childhood is how our parents ensured that we were religious and we were Christian and we were going to church. And so everything that they possibly could do to ensure that we went to church and we learned about God was a central piece of our childhood. And it's something that when I think about my childhood cannot be left out. The other thing is that my parents really emphasized aspects of education. They emphasized the need for us to go to school, to work hard and to do well in school. And so whenever the report card came back at the end of the term, there was always rewards or punishments depending on whether or not you did well in school. So that aspect also was very critical. But one other aspect I would like to share is my parents, as well as my uncles and aunties that I stayed with whilst growing up, emphasized another aspect of ensuring that you are working hard in all the aspects of the home, in the sense that there was nothing like this choice for a girl or this choice for a boy. My parents were very gender balanced. My uncles and aunties that I stayed with at some point later in high school were also very gender balanced. And they created opportunities for all of us in their home to equally participate in supporting household chores, as well as all the business ventures they were encountering in the home. So, and then currently, I'm a medical doctor by training, but currently I'm not in practice. I am currently working with one of the global international public health organization. It's called PATH. I work with the PATH Zambia Country Program, where I am leading a project called the Living Labs Project, which is really applying what is called human-centered design to address factors that affect motivation and engagement of healthcare workers who provide immunization services in 5 of Zambia's provinces. That's pretty much where I am right now.
So that was a good briefing for us, and that is a pretty good backstory you have, and it's really interesting to know about your childhood and what you're doing now. So that was interesting. Now, how do you think and like plan to connect your past medical experience with digitalization to bring the future change in your area in Zambia and possibly at the global level? How do you plan to do
So
that?
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, great. So very early in my career of clinical practice, I was introduced to digital health tools. There is a tool in Zambia called SmartCare, which is currently being rebranded in what is called SmartCare Plus. So very early in my career, less than a month on the job in clinical practice, I was introduced to this tool. Okay, great. So yeah, thank you very much. As I mentioned, very early in my career of clinical practice, I was introduced to a digital tool called SmartCare. And that tool showed me the opportunity that technology brings to transforming the health sector as a whole. And from that time on, I grew to love the concept of digital health, e-health, you can call it health informatics, but ultimately the use of technology in the health sector to support clinical care, improve data quality, but also inform data-driven decision making. And so over the last 6 or so years, I've been a part of an active team of people who have been driving the agenda of e-health in Zambia. I actually worked on a project for 3 years from the 1st of February of 2017 to the 31st of March last year with a company called Broadreach, where I was the lead product manager. And there we were supporting aspects of business analysis, product development, requirements engineering, testing the technology through internal testing methodologies, as well as user acceptance testing methodologies. In addition to that, I was also supporting aspects of training, capacity building, and change management for the use of the same technology at facility and at national level.
Yes. So
Currently,
Yeah, please
Currently, I
continue.
also sit on the Digital Health Technical Working Group, where we work together with the Ministry of Health in Zambia to sort of give guidance and direction towards digital health implementation at national level.
So that's pretty interesting. Now technology has now become an integral part of your life. So that's very interesting. So now the next question I would like to ask from you is, Mr. Joseph, you have two brain children, Heal and JK Ideas. I learned about them from your webpage. How do they connect together, and how do you want to make a bigger impact in the health and wellness industry?
Okay, great. Thanks a lot once again. So the concept heal is a concept that was started by my wife. And so it started from a place where after we had our two children, my wife had put on a lot of weight. And through the process of her losing weight and pivoting more to a healthy lifestyle, there's a lot of lessons that we learned and collectively started this movement called Heal. And so in that program, it's really a program that is focused on helping people to pivot more to a healthy lifestyle. And mostly right now, we are supporting people who would like to lose weight or would like to maintain weight. And in doing so, we are looking at four critical aspects. One of them is diet. What you eat usually determines your weight. The other aspect is exercise, appropriate exercises that help people to lose or maintain weight. The other aspect is hydration, the importance of taking water and how that is important for your general health and well-being. Then there is also an aspect of coaching where we provide information, tips, and support people on this journey. And that's because one of the lessons that we've learned is we shouldn't really focus on the target of losing weight, but we should focus more on investing in people and the type of people that would actually lose weight. So we are more about character building and habit building that pivots more towards a healthy lifestyle. JK Ideas, on the other hand, is a concept that is born from a long time of talking to people and supporting people in a number of ways in terms of career development, in terms of personal discovery, in terms of motivation, in terms of supporting people through career enhancement. And so a number of people having requested me to sort of share my ideas and put up a page where I can throw my ideas, that is the birthplace of JK Ideas. And really specifically, it was because last year I went to Livingstone. I was having a conversation with somebody else, and somebody else listened in on that conversation. And based on what we discussed in that conversation, the person who was listening in felt challenged and inspired, and they went and started an actual movement where they are supporting the well-being of prisoners and people who are in correctional services in Zambia. 3 months later, I met that person, and this person tells me, I started something because I overheard you discussing something with my brother, and it encouraged me and inspired me. And it was on that day that that person literally sat and said, we need to open a Facebook page where you can be sharing ideas when you are able to share ideas. Nothing under pressure, but let's have a platform where you can share ideas. And that's how the concept of JK Ideas came about.
Interesting. Now that's a very interesting story of your two startups. And well, they are so is Heal. I found that idea very interesting, and I'll put the webpage down in the description below so that my viewers can also check those websites. And now the next question I would like to ask from you. So you're a doctor, you told us. You are a digital leader, and now you're a runner, and you're an entrepreneur. How do you manage your time during a typical day? Because actually that is a whole lot of work on a single person.
Okay, yeah. So one of the things that I learned very early in life is it's easier to manage a number of tasks when you break them down to building blocks. And so when you break down any task, no matter how complex,
So that hello.
can you get me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So yeah, so one of the things I learned very early in life is that every task, no matter how complicated, can actually be broken to a level of a building block. And once you identify those building blocks, you are able to commit time to each building block. There should never be a time when we want to complete everything in one sitting, but having a progressive strategy helps to manage a number of moving pieces. So generally, with COVID-19, my days are not all the time between my work and being able to give input into the HEAL program as well as the JK Ideas concept. And then at the same time, I am a father, so I have to play a role of a father to our children. I'm also a husband. I'm also a guardian to other people in the home. So one of the things I've learned is that even work itself, I do not treat work based on how long I spend working. I treat work based on targets. So I do what is called targeted work. So I set targets for myself so that when I meet those targets, I know that the work for that particular day is completed. Today, there is something called social media, which can easily distract you when you are working. And to say that you can completely stay away from social media is another challenge. So one of the things that I've started doing, one habit I've started building over the last 2 months or so, is to give myself a 5-minute social media break once I complete a specific deliverable. So when I'm working and I have a report to complete, so I tell myself this report is 20 pages. When I complete reviewing 10 pages, I will give myself a 5-minute social media break. If I have not completed the 10 pages, there's no social media break. So that has also helped me to build discipline in how I manage social media to ensure that my work does not suffer and I still have an opportunity to interact with the family who are in the home where I work right now.
Hello?
Hello, I can get you.
Yeah, yeah. So, what I want to, so that was, now habits actually are the most crucial ingredient to level up our game in life, transforming from like level up our game from an ordinary person to an extraordinary person. Please advise your take on the on the power of habits, and how can anyone make his life easy by making good habits, and how can one of course make good habits easily.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So I'll quickly share. So last year, one of the other things that my wife also started was a book club. It's called Bookish. So when we started that book club, we wanted to start meeting in person, but COVID struck and we couldn't meet. So we continued with the book club concept and we started meeting using Zoom. Sometimes we use Google Meet, sometimes we use a Skype. And the idea is to read various books and share ideas and experiences. One of the books that we read last year was a book titled The Power of Atomic Habits by
Yes.
James Clear. And
Yes.
in that book, there's a lot of great insights on how to work on behavior change and habit formation.
I have
One of
also
the
read that
things that
book.
I perfect, perfect. So that's good. That's good. So one of the things I love about that book is even in my journey. So on the HEAL program, when I also started on a journey to lose weight, because I'd gone as high as 84 kgs, my target was to get down to between 65 and 70, which I managed to do between August and December of 2020. One of the things that helped me was some of the principles I learned from The Power of Atomic Habits. One of the things I tell people is for you to build a good habit, you need to start by simply showing up. You don't have to start perfectly. You don't have to start in a manner that is extraordinary. Just start by showing up. When you start by showing up, you can start with a very simple level. I'll give you an example. When I started running, I could barely run a kilometer without stopping. Now I can run 16 kilometers without stopping. What helped me to grow to that level is to start by showing up. The second thing is when you start by showing up, you need to set your own pace. Do not be under pressure to work on the pace set by the world or by society or by the family. Determine the pace that would work for you in that particular habit and work with that pace. The moment you do that, you are able to grow at your own pace. without any form of influence from the external world. And that has worked for me very, very well. And it helps me to accomplish a number of tasks within the healthy lifestyle, but also within getting work done in the work environment as well as general life.
That is very interesting, and of course habits can transform anyone's life, so yours is no exception. um so the next thing is how like what are the most, like you told us about habits, so what are the most cherished habits you consider which have made you what you are today? Please share your experience and wisdom on this, because habits are important and the proper ones are even more better. So please tell us about your secret habits.
Oh yeah, so thanks a lot. So one of the things about me is I do what is called detective reading or detective knowledge search. And this is something I've carried from childhood, and it has really helped me to sort of acquire knowledge. So I talked about working in the digital health space, right? One interesting thing you will learn about the digital health space is that I have never actually gone to school to do a master's in digital health or a master's in health informatics or a master's in information systems management. Everything that I've learned, everything that I've amassed is through a habit called detective knowledge acquisition. And so I have this thing where I set questions and I have learned the art of surfing the internet effectively to find the knowledge I'm looking for. The other habit, which has really helped me even in my professional career, is what I call attending the YouTube University. And so I find that I'm more of an audio-visual person. So reading books, actually sitting to read text has not really worked for me. So one of the things that has helped me to acquire knowledge is searching very efficiently on YouTube. And I find a lot of data on YouTube, which helped me in my medical school days. Currently, I'm pursuing a Master's of Public Health at the University of Lusaka. It has also helped me in my research aspects in terms of finding data through those less than 5 minutes long videos, but with a lot of nuggets. The other habit for me that has really helped me is the aspect of being committed to faith. Whatever faith means to you, depending on your religion, whatever God means to you, whether you call it a higher power or you call him a different name, that commitment to a faith that helps me to connect with myself deeply over the years has helped me to consistently go back to the greatness within myself that sometimes when I pay too much attention to the world around, I tend to forget. And so in those moments of prayer, in those moments of reading the Bible in my Christian context, have really helped me to connect with myself. One of the lessons I've learned in life is people who spend time connecting with themselves in whatever form are the most creative. The more we
Yes.
spend time with ourselves, the more we are able to discover just how great we are, and the more we're able to tap into that greatness to share it with the world. It's almost like investing into yourself so that you've got enough resources within yourself to share with the world. So that habit for me that I've carried over the years has been very helpful in my life.
That is very interesting, and of course I also believe that the thing is, whenever you try to connect, if you connect with someone's heart, and when you do that now, you create a connection that is very rare, and actually that should be everybody should do that. Everybody should talk heart to heart, not brain to brain. So now, how do behavior patterns affect like how do behavior pattern affect anyone's life? I would like to know about that.
Great, thanks a lot. So you know how, are you able to tell me what your favorite movie is? Sorry for putting you on the spot. What's your favorite movie?
Movie, my favorite movie is now I my favorite movie is a Hindi film. No, I'll tell a English one only. It's Django Unchained.
What?
Django Unchained.
Okay, fine. So when you, I want you to think about your favorite movie, okay? And how much you like it. The characters in there, the storyline, the emotional journey that that movie takes you on, right? And every listener or viewer of this video, at this point, I want you to think of your favorite movie and think about what you like about that movie. One of my favorite movies is called Coming to America. It's a long time ago when that movie was created, but even last night I was watching it. I like that movie. And so the movie in this example is our life. Everything that happens backstage when they are preparing for the movie, the outfits, the makeup artists, the script writing, the memory work that goes into memorizing the script work so that people can be able to get on the stage and they can be able to perform. The training, getting into character. Those pieces in life are what I call habits and behavior. So what you do is based on your choices. So the way I break it down is this. Your choices, right, are the ones that define your habits. So the things that you consistently choose. If you choose every day to smoke, every day you keep smoking, it means one of your habits is smoking, isn't it? So,
Yes.
and then it means that your choices have built your habits. Then your habits themselves are the ones that are the building blocks of your character. So since your habits are based on choices, you see that you are able to get down to choice level. That's where you can actually make the difference. You can't start at habit level and you can't start at character level, but you have to start at choice level. And it is the choices that you make every day consistently that define your habits. And it is your habits that you've embraced that define your character. It is your character that now forms the foundation of the type of behavior that people will see. So when they see that, oh, Joseph is a hardworking person, that's because Joseph has a character that shows hard work. And that's because that character is built on habits that show that Joseph is hardworking. And those habits are based on choices that consistently show a trend. And people are able to say, okay, I think Joseph is hardworking. So if you think about behavior, think about your favorite movie. And when you think about what affects your favorite movie, it's everything that happens backstage. And everything that happens backstage can be related to things like our character, our habits, and our choices.
that that is very interesting. So that's a very interesting philosophy and a very interesting perspective you have. Now, please advise. Okay, so behavior patterns can affect anyone's life, but please advise what behavior changes can really transform a person to build a personality that is bulletproof actually to face the future challenges. Because there are many like immeasurable behaviors patterns that can make actually that can make you you can that can make you worse, but what are the habits that can make you better?
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. Let me start by saying that whether a behavior is said to be good or a behavior is said to be bad is dependent on your current state of mind. And so in my mind and in how I look at things, there is no behavior I regard as bad behavior. There is no behavior I regard as good behavior. What I like to address is the goal. What is the goal of the behavior? What are we trying to achieve? And from there, I begin to address things like your choices and your habits and your character, which are the building blocks of that behavior. And so I think what would help anybody is to first understand what is it that I want to achieve. Let me give a practical example. When I started on this journey to want to lose weight, okay, one of the things I knew very well, for me to achieve that, I need to watch what I eat. I also need to come up with exercises that would help me to lose that weight. I also needed to add in aspects of taking in enough water correctly, appropriately, to help me meet my target. Another example I can give is talking about digital health, which I love very much. When I got into the digital health space, I told myself, what do I want to learn? When I was very clear in terms of what I wanted to learn, which was my goal, I was able to put in place behaviors. And some of the behaviors I talked about were researching on YouTube. Some of the behaviors I talked about was researching on the internet from credible websites where you find research papers. that give a lot of data. Then there's a lot of sites which give a lot of data around digital health. So for me, the critical thing is everybody needs to get into a place of setting tangible goals. And when you
Yes.
create those tangible goals, which are like the blueprint, it helps you to know when you've arrived. And once you define that goal, which is like your destination, it is important then to ask yourself, what do I need to do to get there? Where do I start? And in terms of where do you start, we get back to the conversation we had on creating habits. How do you introduce new habits into your existing habits? And how do you sustain the new habits? And how do you get rid of bad habits that might not take you to that desired destination? I hope that helps.
That is very interesting. So the good so basically it depends on the goal, that the habits, the good habits, the bad habits, that all depends on the one's goal. So that is also an interesting perspective. So now is your major work is to like mentor people on personal growth. Please advise how behavior changes, like for personal growth, can impact, especially in health. Because I want to know about the health, especially.
Okay, great. So a lot of our health is based on our behavior and our choices. And that's why when you think about health promotion as a program, which is sort of pioneered by different ministries of health and the WHO at global level, it comes to address aspects of our lives that are dependent on choices. Even when you think about preventive medicine to prevent disease, a number of the preventive mechanisms are based on choices and behavior of people in the community. I'll give you a practical example. Right now, we are affected by the COVID-19. Everybody is talking about COVID-19, and COVID-19 is a health threat at global level, but also at local levels, right? And so in ensuring that one is healthy and that they are not prone to accessing the virus, there are certain choices one needs to make, which have been recommended. One of the choices one needs to make is to ensure that they mask up whenever they are in public places. The other choice is to ensure that you use alcohol-based sanitizer, not just any sanitizer, but alcohol-based sanitizer. And if you end up in a place where there's other people, to ensure that you make a decision or a choice to maintain social distancing. And if at all you have any of the symptoms that can be suggestive of COVID-19, ensure that you make the choice again to go and get tested, so that if you are positive, we can ensure that we do contact tracing and then you get appropriate treatment. So from this example, you can see that our health is actually in our own hands. Coming to the things that we do in here, what you eat is a choice. Whether you exercise or you do not exercise is a choice. Whether you take water or you do not take water is a choice. And whether you invest in acquiring knowledge that helps you to make healthy choices is another choice. So I think when you think about health, before we think about the doctors, the nurses, and the Minister of Health, and all the strategic leaders in health, let us think about how strategic we are as leaders of our own health to make informed choices that help us to remain healthy so that we can prevent disease and maintain a life that is fulfilled and healthy.
Thank you, sir. That those tips were very interesting, and I very well believe that they are actually very imminent if anyone wants to keep their health and their well-being just like in a safe corner. Now, why and how did you get the idea of running? Because you said that you can run about 16 kilometers without a break, and that is actually a very big feat. Why not something else? How did you get the idea of running, and how did running really impact your life? Please advise me briefly.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So I was telling my older brother last night that if I was given an opportunity when I was growing up, I think I would have become a long distance runner. I think I've always loved running from childhood. I would try my best to participate in the running competitions in my school. So in terms of running specifically, when I started on the weight loss journey, I used to do workouts almost like aerobics. I love dancing. So I used to do a lot of dancing moves, and those are the things that helped me to lose weight. So when I got to a point where I met my target weight, I decided to pivot more towards running because then running is a type of exercise that helps to maintain weight. It is not very intense on calorie digestion or metabolism. It helps to create a good, sustainable metabolism in the body. And so that is how I started investing in running so that instead of continuing to lose weight, I can maintain my weight at my target weight, though 2 or 3 times in a week, I still do intense workouts just to ensure that fat is not accumulating in my body and that my body metabolism is still up to scratch. And then the running is what helps to maintain the weight. And that's why I do more running these days than actual workouts or aerobics or dance. Yeah.
That is very interesting. So you always had a passion for running. Um, that's fantastic. What are the typical challenges which you have faced while running on a regular basis, and which normally people give up, because running is not actually easy. People just like do it for 1 week, 2 week, 1 month maximum. After that, people stop everything and just go back to what they were. So how did you do that?
Okay, great. So getting back to aspects of habits. So one of the things that worked for me for running is showing up. And so starting by showing up. This is not the first time I'm trying this running thing. I started as early as 2016. I tried for like a week or two. I couldn't sustain it. I tried in 2017. I think I also tried in 2019, but it wasn't just working out. But last year, the silver bullet, one of the silver bullets that changed this whole thing is one of the things I learned from my wife called intentional growth, being intentional about the things that you want to do. The other thing is learning some of the nuggets of habits and behavior change. And these two aspects, number one, starting by showing up. So when I started running, I didn't start hoping to do a perfect 5 kilometers run. No. I started by doing shorter distances, 2 kilometers, 1 kilometer, 3 kilometers, 4 kilometers. The idea was to start from a place that I can actually complete a milestone. I find that most people stop running because they want to start running perfectly. They want to start extraordinarily. But running, like any other new habit, we need to start at a place where we can actually complete a particular milestone. So I started by showing up. The second aspect that has helped me with running is applying what James Clear calls the 1% rule, doing better by 1% every other day. So when you start at 1 kilometer, don't expect to go and run 3 kilometers tomorrow. Can you just maybe move to 1 kilometer and 100 meters, 1 kilometer to 2 kilometers, like that? Progressive increments are what helped me to sustain. The third thing that helped me to sustain the running is support. So I co-opted my nephew. So I ran with my nephew. So initially when I started, I used to run alone, but now we run with my nephew. So we hold each other accountable. Even when we are running together and we are supporting each other. The fourth thing is that running is something that is done in rhythm. So if you are just running haphazardly and you are breathing haphazardly, it's easy to get tired easily. So when you learn to run at a consistent pace and you run in a rhythm and breathe in a rhythm, everything remains with your mind. You can run as far as you want to go.
Okay. And the next thing is, apart from the direct benefits, apart from the direct benefits of running, what are the soft qualities, values, and traits in your view we get from running regularly, which prepares us to handle life situations better?
Okay, great. So running, like every other habit, requires commitment, right? So one of the things that I find that is of value to me when I'm running is, remember I said I do not read books like text. So I have a reading application on my phone. So when I'm running, I'm listening to a book sometimes. So it helps me to listen to books when I'm running. The other benefit from running that I've seen is that it teaches discipline. So you need to be disciplined enough to create time for running. So that also helps to manage other aspects of life in terms of work, knowing that this is my time to run and let me focus on running. So if anybody calls me when I'm running, I don't pick up those phone calls. When I'm running, the idea is to run and to enjoy the run and to get the most of the run. And so that also has now translated into being better disciplined, even in terms of work and other ventures that I'm involved in as a person. The other thing about running is it has taught me aspects of behavior change itself, how my journey in running has evolved over the last 3, 4 months has helped me to sort of learn practical lessons on behavior change and how to adopt a new lifestyle and how to change different aspects of our lives. And some of those lessons have also helped me to embrace new growth opportunities at work, have helped me to also improve on concepts like HEAL and JK ideas, but also have helped me to speak to people and to counsel or mentor people who also need to walk through a process of changing their lifestyle towards a more healthy lifestyle.
Okay, that is interesting. Now, can you please tell me what are the what are the accomplishments you have made which have made you proud and kept you going and put the inspiration inside you that you should continue doing what you do and all that.
Great. So one of the accomplishments for me is being able to reach my target weight. So right now, I can finally fit in my wedding suit, something I was not able to do over the last 4, 5 years. So I am back to my weight where I started when I got married. That's one of the things. But also in my work, there's a lot of great stuff that I've managed to do. I supported the process of re-engineering requirements for a new version of the digital health technology I talked about. And so in that particular case, I was able to support critical pieces to the point where the new technology was ready to go for usability testing in the facilities. And that is where I handed over to somebody who took over my role as I was moving on to my new organization where I work. And currently as well, where I work, we've done a lot of great work together with the team as I lead that team to accomplish a number of critical concepts being generated and developed that are promising for possible implementation in the health sector. The other accomplishment for me, the other critical accomplishment for me is the many people in whose life I have spoken, the many people that I've talked to in terms of their career growth, in terms of their school, in terms of business, and have actually gone out there and have actually accomplished something. That for me is one of the greatest investments one can ever do. It is to invest in another person. We can invest in material things, we can invest in real estate, we can invest in businesses. But personally, the greatest investment I always look forward to is to invest in another person, to share experiences, to encourage somebody, and to pick up somebody when they're down. Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting and your your perspective is actually very is a first class perspective and I found it very interesting. Now, what is your advice on the benefits of running to our viewers who wants and how should anyone who wants to start running go about it and make it a habit for for a long term?
Great. So very quick nuggets. If you've not run in a long time, start by walking. And so determine an achievable distance, whatever it is. Could be 100 meters, could be 500 meters, could be 400 meters, depending on your current state. then you can start by brisk walking. Start jump-starting your heart and your lungs to support activity. So don't be in a hurry to do exemplary, extraordinary distances or speeds, but focus more on investing into yourself. So start with brisk walking. And when you start with brisk walking, continue for at least 2 weeks to a month, the same distance, so that your body can adjust and adapt. And from there, you can now introduce running, and you can introduce running at intervals. So for instance, if you're going to do a total distance of 2 kilometers and you've not done a run of 2 kilometers straight before, don't punish yourself. Do something that you can manage. So you can decide to run 100 meters and do some walking for 50 meters. Do another 100 meters and do some walking for 50 meters. The idea with that interval running is that it also allows your body to adapt and to adjust to the whole mechanism of running, so that your body learns that you are going to start running. And with that, keep improving by 1% every day. And the idea is every single day, show up. Every single day, do something in line with the running. If you have always been running and you just really want to improve on your running, there's issues of how you breathe. I mentioned earlier that breathing is a technique when you're running. I usually advise people that breathe in a particular rhythm. So ideally, you want to maintain a proper rhythm of breathing when you breathe in and when you breathe out. Generally, I recommend that you breathe in using your nose and breathe out using your mouth. And that's because when you breathe in through your nose, the nose and the airway structure such that they're able to filter the air better than if you breathe in using your mouth. But breathing out using your mouth also allows you to take deeper breaths to exhale as much carbon dioxide as possible. So breathing in rhythm is critical, as well as running in rhythm. Learning to run at a steady pace in a certain rhythm helps, so that you can become more of a stable runner, as opposed to running in a haphazard manner that it makes you easily get tired and you fail to meet your targets in terms of distance or pace.
Okay. So, what's your view on leadership? Because you talked so much about running, the benefits of running. Now, I would like to ask, what's your view on leadership? And what should youth do to develop leadership skills to solve critical problems? Because that I think is your major experience, because you have JK ideas, you have heal, you have so many things you're doing to solve problems. So I would like to ask you that.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. So in terms of leadership, for me, leadership starts at individual level. You cannot provide leadership to other people.
Hello, 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 hello. Excuse me.
So with leadership, my view is that leadership starts at individual level. So your choices, the places that you go to, the things that you do as an individual speak to the type of person that you are. It also speaks to the kind of leadership that you provide if you are given an opportunity to lead. The second thing about leadership is that leadership is different from holding a particular position. Most of our youths and a lot of people out there confuse positions and leadership. Leadership is about qualities, traits, personality, the kind of person that you are. Yet, you might not be in a formal position of leadership. That is something that I've carried with me from very early in my life. Whichever teams I've been a part of, whether I am in formal leadership or not, I always bring myself to the table to provide perspectives. Most of the times, people think that leadership is about making decisions, but actually, the bedrock or the foundation of leadership is self-awareness and understanding the value that you bring to a particular group. So when you know that you are good in a particular area, it is unfair to allow the team to suffer, yet you know that you can provide insight or input or support that particular role. So leadership for me starts from a place where one understands their value and they know what they bring to the table and they do the best that they can to provide that service. And so when we think about the youths today and what we can do, to develop skills, to develop aspects of leadership, as well as helping people to solve critical problems. I think it's important that the youths are able to realize that mentorship is critical. There's no one that is self-made. All of us stand on the shoulders of giants. So when we are able to sit under people's mentorship, it helps us to learn from them, from their experiences, and we are able to learn a lot of things as opposed to discovering things on our own. The other things I think that youths can leverage is a lot of training programs available. We're in a place where there's a lot of online platforms, Udemy, YouTube, Coursera, so many leadership trainings available on a number of digital platforms. So the youths of today, as opposed to using social media and our smartphones to only go on social media and chat and chill, we can use these digital devices to access critical information about leadership, get some training, get access to information, getting access to data. Another critical aspect of leadership is to read. Generally, I'm not the kind of person that that would say from childhood I used to read books faithfully. I used to read books from a detective's perspective of looking for specific information. But now I have learned the art of reading a book word for word. Reading is critical because it allows us to access people's great minds and learn from their principles without having to invest our time to think through them. And so any youth who desires to lead or who wants to be a better leader every day needs to invest time into reading, accessing credible material to read that helps us to change our perspective, our thought process. The fifth and most critical thing about leadership is self-discovery and self-development. When you spend enough time to discover who you are, your strengths and your weaknesses, the abilities that you have and the things that you are limited in terms of doing, it helps you to invest time to develop yourself in those attributes and skills that you know you are very good at, so that you are better placed to serve. Because leadership, like I said, is not about formal positions. Leadership is understanding that you have something to offer, something to bring to the table, and actually bringing it to the table so that people can benefit from that ability that you have.
Yes, so leadership can be learned from leadership is not actually something we can learn, I believe. It is something that comes from within. Please advise a few books that have made the maximum impact in your life to build your character and personality, and why. I think you have mentioned James Clear's Atomic Habit a lot. I think that it's the book.
Most definitely. And then there is also a book by Miles Monroe, which looks at the power of potential. I read that book very early in my life. I think that was almost 18 years ago. Then there is also a book which I actually bought in India when I traveled to India in 2012. It's called Great Leaders Grow. It's a very small book, but it's got a lot of principles about leadership and how to grow in leadership. And then there is also a book that we read last year. It's called The Capitalist Nigger. A very interesting book, which I think you might also be aware of. It's got very interesting perspectives about business, entrepreneurship, but also just helping us to be a bit more aggressive and intentional about things that we want to achieve. And currently, I am reading this book. I don't know if you're able to see it.
Yeah,
it's a book called 60 Minutes to Better. Yeah, 60 Minutes to Better Public Speaking by Kevin Abdulrahman, Public Speaking Coach to the Stars. It's a very interesting small book, not very complicated, very simple language, but with a lot of nuggets on how to offer your content in terms of public speaking and how to tell the story better. These are some of the books that I would like to share. But of course, one of the other critical books from a Christian faith perspective is the Bible. There's a lot of lessons in the Bible about leadership that have really shaped my character and my personality as Joseph. Yeah.
Okay. So now this is actually very interesting. Suppose if you retire like today from work, then what would you like to be remembered for by others? What would you like to be remembered by from others like others from tomorrow, and why?
If there is one thing that people should remember me by, is my availability to avail myself, to pour myself into other people. And what I mean is investing in other people. For me, I don't want people to remember me by material things or anything that I gave them, because nobody remembers anybody for the material things that they got from them. But I would like people to remember me for my person, my personality, and my character, and how that impacted them as a person. Whatever they see in my character, in my choices, in my habits, that are seen to be seeds planted in their lives, and they are actually able to see those seeds grow, that's the best way to remember me. I believe that the best way to be remembered is to replicate a bit of yourself in other people by sowing a seed of your character in other people. That's the best way that I would love to be remembered.
Okay, so that's very interesting. Who are your role models from you have been inspired the most? Because see, whatever you have done, you're a runner, you're a digital leader, doctor, an entrepreneur. You do so many things. It's not easy, of course. Whom do you get inspiration from, and who is your guru, your role model, basically?
Okay, great. Allow me, indulge me to start my role, to start by indicating that one of my critical role models in my life is Jesus Christ from a Christian perspective, and the kind of man that he was, the character that he portrayed, the choices that he made, and everything about him, and how that inspires me as a person to do the best that I can to walk in those footsteps as a Christian. The other role models that I have is my late father. He was a great man. He was a man of hard work and a man of integrity. My father would resign from sitting on certain executive boards if he saw any trace of corruption. That's how much integrity he had. My mother, who is still alive, is another hardworking woman who has been a role model for a long time because of her hard work and her simplicity. My other role model is my late grandfather. We were burying him about a week ago. I was named after him, actually, my late grandfather. He's so much of a role model that indirectly, without knowing it, I was inspired to pursue the medical profession because he too was a clinical officer that early at the time of independence. He was already trained as a clinical officer, very inspiring. But one thing about my grandfather that I always cherish is that he was a man that was available to family. He was available to friends and to people. He spent time pouring himself into other people. He invested in people, and he was a very selfless man. So those are the critical role models really in my life currently. And when I look at these people, for my father and my grandfather who are late, I have coined something which I call I am legacy. And that reminds me every single day to uphold their values and everything good about them that I admired every day of my life as a means of keeping on their legacy. And for my mother, who is still alive, I continue to learn from her as a critical role model.
Okay, so that's very interesting. That's great. Now, please tell me that who are the two people you would like to see and learn from on this show, and why?
Hmm. The two people I'd like to see on this show and learn from, and why. Okay, great. One of the people that I would like to see on this show and learn from and why is James Clear. Yeah, because I subscribed to his newsletter, and I think he shares a lot of great nuggets in terms of habits and behavior change and everything else, which is really great. And trust me, it's amazing lessons that I learn from him every single time I receive that newsletter. I think the other person that I would like to see on this platform and learn from. I'm really torn in between a number of people right now, trying to pick. And some of these people that I'm thinking about are people who are within my local landscape here. And so I'm really trying to pick the specific person. If I'm allowed to pick more than one,
Yeah, it's
I can
allowed.
share
It's
more than
allowed. It's allowed.
okay. Oh, okay, great. Okay, great. I think the other person that I would like to see on this platform and learn from is a lady called Catherine Njuguna. Catherine Njuguna is from Kenya. She was my leader for Catholic students at Pan-African level. She's one of those people that was like my mentors. But I think there's a lot of great work that she has done from the time we stopped the active mentorship that I think can benefit me and a lot of other people in terms of leadership, governance, service, and the faith generally. So that one would really be great. The other person that I would like to learn from, ultimately, that I would like to see on this show is my mom.
Okay.
And that's because I know she's done the best as a mother to be there and to mentor me and my brothers. But I think having a conversation around everything that she's done in life, or the simple things that I regard as great things that I would love to learn more from when she's discussing with somebody professional like yourself, I think would be great for people out there to also learn from and to also pick from in terms of principles of hard work, principles of commitment, principles of simplicity and humility, but also principles of faith and how those begin to shape up your life as a person. Yeah.
Okay. So your mother. That is totally. That's a very good idea. And now um, I would like to ask. Lastly, I hope you enjoyed this show. Please advise what unique thing you have liked about Aditya Talks and any suggestion which should be incorporated to improve the experience in point of view of our viewers.
Okay, great. One of the things I've learned from this is even as we were planning for this, I think we've been trying to do this for the past 1 month. I like your consistency and your commitment and your focus. Thank you very much for this platform and for this opportunity. The other thing that I like is that we're able to work across different time zones and we're still able to get this show to work. I also like the fact that we're using something that is very common. Zoom is a common platform now in Zambia that a lot of people are using because of digital tools that are required to help maintain social distancing. So it's a flexible, friendly tool that anybody, okay, most people actually have access to, even mobile phone. So that's really, really great. I think the only thing that I would say would be great to discuss, and I would like to, I'm open to discussing it offline, is to figure out ways of getting these conversations to be interactive. I know there will ultimately be a link and a video posted on a channel on YouTube, right? But just to think of, are there opportunities where such conversations can actually be broadcast live and specific participants can actually join to actually set up this link even way before time starts, even from my end as a speaker, I'm able to invite people to come in and add different perspectives to make the conversations rich. Not for every one of the interviews, but I think there should be those opportunities, maybe on a quarterly basis, where you bring in different speakers or even one speaker for a particular topic. And then specific people are invited to something like a webinar or an online interview type of thing. And then people can actually ask their questions and their conversation can be rich. Yeah, that's what I can think of for now. But since I have your contact, I'll definitely reach out via WhatsApp and we can continue having the conversation.
Yes. Okay, thank you for coming on the show. It was very interesting, and you have such a vast amount of knowledge. I don't think it can be contained into into a single session. So we will do more of these sessions, and I hope we will have many more interesting like discussions in the future. and I was very much inspired by you today, and I hope my viewers did too, because I can thank you my viewers for watching till the end, because I it's really a very good thing you do for me, that you watch these 40-minute session for me. And well, overall, thank you sir for coming on the show, and hope we do many more sessions like these. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.